Chris Watts has decided he is not to blame for what happened to Shanann and to Bella and to Celeste and his unborn son. Nope. The women in his life are to blame. The Daily Mail just got its hands on some letters written by Watts at the Dodge Correctional Institute. That is a maximum security prison in central Wisconsin, where he was sent, and he has been there for the last 6 years. The letters show a man determined to find anyone but himself responsible for his diabolical behavior. He actually addressed his letters to God, zip code unknown. And he first unloads on his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, writing this: I was misled. I was tempted by a harlot. I was weak, and I allowed myself to be fooled by an evil woman. She led me from the path of righteousness. I know that you will deal with her someday. She will be judged. You know my heart, Lord. I am a man after your heart. I seek your face. I allowed her to sway me. FYI, Nicole Kessinger told the police that she was dating a man who told her that he was separated and divorcing. But then when his wife and children disappeared, she got very scared and she called the police immediately, leading to his arrest. But Watts doesn't stop with Nicole Kessinger. No, no, no. He unloads on other women too, mostly unnamed women, calling them harlots and Jezebels and whores. And of course, he blames his pregnant wife for being domineering and self-absorbed, suggesting that she caused her own death. I think I just threw up in my mouth. What is weird is that he doesn't seem to have it in for all women, because plenty of his letters are addressed to female pen pals. And get this, he seems to be looking for a new wife. My next guest broke this story. Steve Heling is a senior reporter with the Daily Mail. He is top-notch in true crime. He's a friend of the show, and he's a good friend of mine. Steve, I should have called you for a drink before you came on the air, as opposed to going for drinks after work, because I couldn't unclench my teeth while reading your piece. So just start with what else you've got on what he writes about women.
I should have warned you, first of all. Let's start there.
Yeah.
I got my hands on these letters. I've seen a lot of his letters. I know his handwriting. I know his writing style. And the thing about Chris Watts is that he couches everything that he writes in this spiritual Christianity type of thing that isn't like any Christianity that I know, that basically he doesn't take personal responsibility. He was always tempted. He was always weak. Somebody was always pulling him aside, and that somebody was always a woman. She was a whore. She was a harlot. She tempted me with her soft words and with her lips. It makes me think, can you take any responsibility whatsoever for what you did? And it seems like you can't.
Turns out no. Yeah, so he says in a letter that you got your hands on, quote, the lips of an immoral woman may be smooth, but no amount of paint on her face can disguise her evil heart. So now I guess it's the makeup's fault for what he did. But he doesn't seem to hate all women. He seems to really want a new one. What is the story about the search for a wife? Is there anybody who's actually interested?
Well, I mean, we see this all the time. Chris Watts is not a bad-looking person. And, there's always going to be somebody who's interested in him. And so there are women that write to him, and he writes back. He's actually very good at corresponding. And of course, a lot of the times he's just talking about, it's a lot of spiritual stuff that he talks about, a lot of Christianity, a lot of God, a lot of Jesus. But then, he'll sometimes talk about himself and be like, I'm misunderstood. And, I was a good father. I was a good person until something happened. But I'm still a good person. So, it's interesting what he'll say to these women. And, a lot of these women, they do fall for it. They do think, well, maybe he's changed. Maybe he's a better person than I thought he was.
I want to pop that piece back up there. We just had it up on the screen, but I want to read it. It was this business about being a good person. I'm barfing in my mouth. He says, I was a good husband and father. Things happened. Things happened. And I am no longer a good husband and father, but I am still a good man. Is this something he wrote to someone in particular, trying to convince her that he'd be her knight in shining armor?
He wrote this to a woman. And, I really, when I read it, I thought, things happen. I mean, things happen like it starts to rain. That's something that happens. What doesn't generally just happen is that you strangle your wife, smother your children, and bury their bodies in an oil field. That's not something just happening. So it just kind of shows, even his choice of words, that none of this is his fault. He didn't do anything. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, boy, I'll say. He doesn't even acknowledge any of the evil that he committed, it seems.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.